Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Sun Up. I'm Curtis Hare. Well, today we're talking insect pressure in summer crops with OSU Extension Cropping Systems entomologist Dr. Ashleigh Faris. And Ashleigh, why don't you walk us down what you're seeing in the fields today, particularly in sorghum?
Sure. So for sorghum, we're having a few different things happen. Right now, with our full season sorghum, we're starting to see that we're having our heads start to develop. So we're in bloom, some of it progressing onto that milk and then hard dough stage eventually. We really need to be proactive in looking for these sorghum headworms, and that's really a complex. So we're talking about things like our corn earworm, our fall armyworms, which flew in around this time last month. And then also we're seeing that we have those sorghum webworms. The good news is that for most of these pests in those heads, we're able to use the same type of active ingredient. It's effective against all three. But it's important that you're scouting from bloom through soft dough, because those lepidopteran pests, they're going to be the immature larvae. They're going to be feeding on the kernels of your heads as they're developing, so robbing you of your yields.
So let's talk about scouting. What are some tips that you have when you're actually going out in the field and scouting?
Yeah, so I use a bucket, a white bucket, to have a really nice contrast. And so what I'll do is I'll take a sorghum head, I'll go ahead, start to knock it around on the inside of that bucket really good, and then look in there and see, what do I have? Do I have any of those worms? The ideal time to treat is whenever you have 1 to 2 per sorghum head. What I usually do is walk and sample random parts of the field, at least around 25 to 30 heads, and then I get the average, and if I see that average of 1 to 2 per sorghum head, then I would go ahead and make the decision to treat, of course, depending on your market price as well as the cost of that insecticide.
So right now you can see that there's some standing water in the fields. When you're talking about scouting, is there any recommendations to kind of wait till the field dries out if you're not actually to really get out and cover the acreage?
So really starting at those borders is going to be very important, but what I will say from what we've seen with the rains that we've really had at the end of June, it's really kind of surprising that that rain is not washing out those pests. A really good example of that is going to be with our chinch bugs, which we were seeing. They're really detrimental to our early seedling sorghum. So if you're thinking right now about double crop, if you've planted any kind of late planted sorghum, then they've gone ahead, they've moved from the full season, they're looking for something else to move into, and they can cause problems there. So these are going to be very small pests. They're going to infest behind the leaves of our leaf sheaths of our lower part of our stalks. Whenever we do have water, we can see that they do move up into the plant, and that also happens moving into the canopy whenever we start to get really large numbers as well.
So when we talk for treatment options for those types of insects, what are we looking at?
So we're looking at something like zeta-cypermethrin or lambda-cyhalothrin. Those are two products that are labeled for chinch bug in sorghum. There's actually a project that my team and I are working on right now in collaboration with Kansas State, and seeing at how we can maybe get another product approved for label that could also be effective for these pests in sorghum. So hopefully I'll have more information on that in the coming future.
You know, we had Josh Lofton on last week talking mainly corn and soybean, but he was mentioning that the corn leafhopper is starting to make some movement in Oklahoma. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it is. So we are actually starting to see it now in Kansas. So about a week or two ago, I started receiving calls from some crop consultants in Kansas saying, hey, we found it, it's here. So for us, what that means in Oklahoma, we're expecting it to seed more evenly throughout the fields. So if we caught it early, which some of the warnings we sent out through our pest alert system for the Department of Entomology and Plant Pathology, we talked about how you could do a band spray just on the outer edge of that field if you were having those early migrations of those pests coming in. But now what we're seeing is that you have it more throughout the field. And so with these pests, we're still trying to determine the virulence of these pests. We don't know in terms of pathogen load how many are actually carrying the pathogens that cause corn stunt disease. So right now, if you're seeing them and your corn is past that R1 stage, I wouldn't worry about spraying. But if you have corn that's anywhere in those early vegetative stages through the R1 stage, you should possibly consider if you need to make an application. And for that, we're still recommending Savanto Prime, and we're also recommending Steward EC. Those are both products that have performed really well in trials out of Oklahoma, Texas, Missouri, and Kansas for those pests.
And I kind of skipped right over it, but the corn leafhopper, as you were mentioning, does spread a disease as well, a corn stunt.
Exactly. So corn stunt symptoms, you're going to be looking for reddening of the upper leaves and the canopy. And again, reddening can be caused by lots of different things. It can be caused also by different types of nutrient deficiencies. So don't let that be your standalone guide for do you have corn stunt or not. You can also see ears that have reduced kernel size and also reduction in size of the ear itself. You can see loose kernels, and then you can also see missing kernels. You may also see multiple ears being produced by the plant at one location. It's like the plant decides it's going to try to make an ear. It can't do it, so it tries to make it again, and it keeps going, and you're basically left with partially filled or not at all filled kernels. So it can be devastating to your crop.
All right, thanks, Ashleigh. Ashleigh Faris, OSU Extension Cropping Systems entomologist here at Oklahoma State University.